Welcome back to The Mouse and Men, where we explore the grown-up side of Disney. Find us online at themouseandmen.com, where you can find our top 10 things for grown-ups to do at Walt Disney World. Also find links to all of our social media, as well as YouTube, where we broadcast the podcast. And speaking of broadcasting, I am here with my co-caster, Chris. Chris, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited because we are now in, I think officially, we are in May, which means we're just about to kick off the summer travel season. And so you and I are talking about some of our favorite memories from Disney, especially when it comes to traveling there in the summertime. And so we thought for the next couple of weeks, especially in the month of May, while we're getting ready to go travel, let's talk about summer vacations, going to Disney World or to Disneyland. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to tell a couple of stories from our past of traveling to Disney. And then also, maybe next week we'll talk about traveling with young ones. And then the following weeks, give us some travel tips. The things that, with all of the travel that you and I have done all across the country, not just to Disney World, but in our previous life together on the road, working at the same company, some of those travel tips that we have picked up along the way to try to make everybody's travel this summer a little bit better. So I'm excited about this travel series that we're going to do, and especially about this week, talking about the first time that you and I went to Disney together.
Yeah, this was, just a couple months into our job, driving around the country and doing conventions together. And one of our first places was Walt Disney World. How cool is that? So
very cool. Yeah.
Let's just jump right into just our memories from this fateful trip in June 2011.
Now, okay, so kicking off this idea, first memories of finding out that we were going to go to Disney, because when you and I started working at this company, we both knew that part of our job would be to basically drive around a moving truck all around the country. But we would just get these orders a couple of weeks or a couple of months in advance, sometimes a couple of days in advance. Hey, we need to go to this convention, pack up everything in the back of the moving truck, and then drive a maximum of even downhill. I think the fastest that moving truck ever went was 66 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So a lot of interstate miles where we never actually hit the interstate speed limit. But oftentimes we were being sent to kind of the middle of nowhere in a state to where, the most exciting thing that was going to happen was that we would get to hit up a Subway sandwich fast food gig that night after it. But when we found out we were going to Disney World for a convention, my head just almost popped off. Oh my gosh, we can actually do something and have some fun other than just trying to find the local barbecue place or, who's got the best burger in town. What were your thoughts when you first heard that we were going to go to Disney?
Well, I think, if I remember correctly, I was not originally slated to go to Disney, but everybody else who was qualified to drive the truck, meaning you, was taking their family down, and so could not drive the truck back.
Yeah.
So I had to be added to the trip to drive the truck back, which, funny story, they when we went to go pick up the truck, they didn't have enough of the size that we needed, so they gave us the next size up.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Was my first time driving a large manual transmission truck. That's fine. I've driven manual transmission trucks since I was 13 or 14 out at my grandparents' place. But having that seat that bounces up and down just changes everything. And, you got to change real fast because first gear only works until you're going 2 miles an hour, and then you got to change. Well, as I'm driving home, I got pulled over, and I'm not even sure why. I didn't do anything wrong, but it stopped me for a couple hours and really threw it off because I'm trying to make that drive all in one day with a big truck by myself. Didn't get home till much later than expected. But what a blast it was when they said, "Oh yeah, we need you to go to Disney World for this convention."
Yeah.
Okay. I guess.
All right. Yeah.
You twisted my arm.
And now we probably found out about 10 years ago about now, or maybe it was like April, May of 2011 when we found out we were going to go, and we ended up going in June. But I remember that back in those days, a big part of what we did when we weren't traveling is we had to put these packages together, and we didn't want fingerprints on them. And so we put on these white cloth gloves, and we were so excited about going to Disney that we took our white cloth gloves and we drew little lines on the back of them to look like Mickey Mouse gloves. And then we were, basically annoyed everybody else in the office because not everybody that we worked with got to go and do these trips. And so sometimes that was really good because they didn't want to go sit in the middle of, a winter state in the middle of the winter. And we had to be the ones to go and leave our families and friends and stuff. And so some days it really didn't work out in our favor. But when we found out we were going to Disney, we were bragging, we were boasting, we were dancing, we were doing everything because it was just so exciting that we got to do something like that, basically on the clock and get paid for it at the same time.
Yeah. And that was my first trip, I think, as an adult to Walt Disney World. I think the last time I'd been to Walt Disney World before that was junior or senior year of high school. Just when I was down there for one of those baseball tournaments that I've talked about before. And by the way, Chris, just full disclosure, I've probably found some of those pictures of the gloves and posted them on the final video. So much younger selves posing with those gloves. But yeah, so it was fun getting to see it now as an adult. Now really excited about just paying attention to all those details that I hadn't really sought out as a kid, but now as an adult, that was my fascination with Disney. So it was really cool getting that perspective. So we go down there, we set up, and there are a couple places that they do conventions on Walt Disney World property. This convention was at the Coronado Springs Resort. This is my first time at Coronado Springs.
Mine too.
And one reason that I remember that I was added late was that I guess for the convention, a lot of the rooms are pretty close to the convention center, but my room was clear across, and I mean, it's blazing hot. It's the middle of June, and I may or may not have walked across property, shirtless because I'm sweating so much. Get to the doors of the building, not going into the hall, but to the building, towel off, put on my shirt, and walk into the air conditioning. Because look, I sweat a lot, and I just didn't want to start the day already in sweaty clothes.
Yeah, no, I was hoping that you would tell that story because I always loved the idea that you would walk across. And again, it was probably a good 10 to 15 minute walk for you to get from where your room was to where the convention was. And I can't blame you. I mean, even early in the morning, in the middle of Orlando,
it's so humid.
You step outside for 2 minutes and not walk at all, you're going to start sweating. But you having to have a 10 to 15 minute walk, and especially, if there's not a cloud in the sky, which I don't remember many clouds on that trip, it's going to bake you and you're going to like melt essentially. And so I couldn't blame you. But to be fair to you, a lot of people did that. Like you go on a morning jog and you wear your morning jogging clothes, which is, sometimes a tank top or a shirt or shirtless. And so it wasn't uncommon for other people to also be jogging around the property there at Coronado Springs without a shirt on. But it was really funny that you had your work shirt in one hand and a towel and running or getting to the spot and then towel off and then put your work shirt on before you had to go be professional.
Yeah.
But yeah, you probably had to sign some autographs from that eye candy you were showing all the convention goers.
Oh, not anymore. I've got that COVID dad bod thing going on. So it doesn't quite look the same. One thing I got to say is that Disney, well, and I guess it wasn't necessarily Disney, but the convention did put together some interesting hours. I remember one day there was like a 2 or 3 hour block where the convention was closed. And so we just went and sat by the pool. And I just wore my bathing suit underneath my jeans and t-shirt. So got to the pool, went swimming. When it was time to head back, toweled off and just pulled my clothes on over my wet bathing suit and went back to work. But what was in what I want to talk about most is one particular day they closed the hall, I think around 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it was done for the day. It was a day that you could go spend in the park. And what Disney did, and I'm not sure if they still do this for conventions, but if you were staying at one of the convention sites and the convention ended at a certain time, you could get a half-day pass.
Right,
so got an after 4 pass. So we were able to get in at 4:00. And that's fine because that night the park or the Magic Kingdom was staying open till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And young whippersnappers thought, all right, we're going to do this. So I got to the park with one of my coworkers at 3:45, and we waited till that clock hit 4:00, and we were in and just trying to ride everything we could, eat everything we could. You were with your family, and I think you got in just a few minutes before we did. Let y'all go do your thing. But then I guess after the nighttime fireworks, you took your family back, put them to bed, and then came back and met us. So maybe just take us through what it was like having your family there on a work trip.
Yeah, and again, going back, this is 1 month short of 10 years ago when all this went down. It was June of 2011, and currently, as we record and put this episode out, this is May 2021. And so my son just turned 15. My daughter just turned 13 a few months back. And so 10 years ago, I had a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. And so a lot of strollers, we're not going to be able to do this for long, but we're going to go enjoy it as long as we can. And then we're going to, give them a break in the middle of the day. And then certainly get home and get them in bed at a certain hour. And so being able to, on a work trip, go down with my family, I knew that there were certain days where you and I would be working in this booth that we worked at when we all set it up from, building it from the back of this moving truck that we drove around the country. We would set it up, and then the rest of those trips, we would work in the booths as kind of a marketing team, and then pack it all up and go to the next place or go home. And so for me, being able to bring my family, I drove them down while you took the brunt of, or took 99.9. I think I drove a little bit for maybe an hour or 2 on the drive down, but on the drive back, you took it all. So 99% of the whole drive was you doing your thing.
Were you following us in your van or something, or in your SUV?
Yeah. We had a little red Honda CRV SUV that we took down there. And we that was the first trip though that my family, that my kids had ever been on to Disney. And so their first experience was Coronado Springs. But so while you and I were working on the clock doing these booth hours, my kids would just be in the room, or they would just go and enjoy a very nice pool area that Coronado Springs has. And so, they would be doing that at home. If I was working with my wife, they would go to the YMCA or wherever and go enjoy some pool hours. And they were able to do that while we were there at Coronado Springs. And so that was great. But again, that one day where we were able to get out of work early, then hit the parks so we could enjoy as much as we could. And then again, you and our coworker that we were also down there with, you guys got to just go do your thing while I was doing the family thing. And then we kind of met up at the evening fireworks And then you went off again while I took the family home. And again, this is leave with the rest of the crowds from Magic Kingdom, go get on your bus, drive all the way back to Coronado Springs, get inside, calm everybody down, get the kids asleep. And about that time, when my wife then had it under control, I was like, I'm going to play some more at the Magic Kingdom. And I got back on a bus, rode back to the Magic Kingdom, and then met you all there. So we were able to do some really fun. I mean,
yeah.
It was amazing that the time that we were there, they had the parks open so late. So the fact that we were able to participate in that was just incredible.
I know you probably got back to us about 9:00 or so. And that means we still got 6 hours in the park to go. Yeah. And I remember, because when we met up with you and your family for the fireworks, watched those, then you took your family back and we were sitting there trying to decide what do we do. And I think she was on the phone with her boyfriend, now husband, just kind of catching up from the day. And what I remember is I got to experience one of those little details. As you walk down Main Street, you veer off to the right, and there's I think there are bathrooms back there. There's a cast member door, but there's a bench, and right up there is a window for, I believe it's dancing lessons and singing lessons. And I just sat there and listened to that for the hour or whatever it was that you were gone. And what a cool little peek into just the little details that Disney goes to great lengths to create. Yeah. But I was entertained the whole time just listening to that while you're putting your family down and then coming back.
That's one of those cool things to where I feel like that you have talked about in the past. One of your initial touch points with your love and fandom of Disney started when your dad would point out the forced perspective there on Main Street, and how buildings don't have to be as tall, because as we're looking up on them, the second floors don't have to be utilized in the way that they would in an actual downtown Main Street scenario. But that, and then the listening to just, most people walk past the little area where they're doing singing lessons or dance lessons, and they never pay attention to it because they're off to go ride Space Mountain or to get in this Swiss Family Robinson treehouse or whatever it may be. But the fact that you were able to just kind of sit back, relax, and soak it all in was, it's one of those things to where that's why I'll always be a Disney fan, because the little things are paid attention to. And little things that, 90% of the population that have been to Disney World they can't really relate to that thing. But it was almost like they made that just for Bradley that night, for him to enjoy as he waited for somebody to get off the phone. And so just those little things, it always impresses me about Disney. And the fact that we were there for a convention, we were able to enjoy it there. We were able to stay until 3 a.m., enjoy that as well. There were so many cool things that Disney does just to go that extra mile for their guests. And I always feel taken care of by Disney in that way. Yeah,
it was such a blast. And I think part of it was we were just so tired because we had to be at our convention booth probably at 7 a.m. that morning. Yeah. And now, just going all day. And now it's late at night. By the time 3 a.m. rolled around, we stayed until they said, "I'm sorry, you can't get on this ride. The park's closed." Yeah. But what a blast to be able to do that, especially because, by midnight, most kids have gone home and much shorter lines. I'll mainly just adults in there riding roller coasters, eating turkey legs, having a big time.
Yeah. And that's kind of the cool thing about it too, is that it almost felt like we had the run of the park. And that kind of idea, it never really happens for me because, again, primarily I have gone to Disney World during summer vacation time when it's at its busiest. And so I'm used to waiting in line, even lines that are pretty quick, like Pirates of the Caribbean, those kinds of rides that kind of move along at a pretty good clip. I'm still used to waiting in line. But the fact that we can go, hey, let's go ride Pirates. And we ride Pirates. And like, let's go all the way across the park and ride Space Mountain again for the third time tonight. Let's go do it. Like, why not? Space Ranger Spin. Let's go ride that again with no wait, just ride it, walking right on. I felt like that. Like, I felt lucky, and I felt like I should have had to pay for that experience, but it was just a part of having a ticket for that day.
Yeah. And I got to say, we paid less because they were discounted
That's
tickets
true.
for being
That's right. Yeah.
after 3 or after 4, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So great value there. Again, I'm not sure if those are still offered. Obviously, there aren't a whole lot of conventions, if any, happening right now at Disney World. Although I think they do have a few that are booking. But just a great little hack. If you've got the opportunity to attend a convention, it's, and your company's going to pay for it, it's great to be able to take your family down there. Just drive down there or get plane tickets for your family, get down there. I know my mom somehow took 3 kids to the parks while my dad was in his convention, and then he'd meet up with us in the afternoon. Not sure how she survived that, but she did. Not sure how we survived that.
Sure. Again, I just was going to say too, how fun it is. Again, when the cool of night sets in down in Orlando, and you've got this nice warm breeze that's happening, and the temperatures fall from the mid 90s or the high 90s or over into the 100s, all the way down into the 70s at night. It feels so nice to have that breeze and to have the cooler temperatures, and to still know that you have several hours in the park to do your thing. I can remember just having so much fun waiting in line for Splash Mountain and just cracking up. It's midnight, but we're still having so much fun, and we're all exhausted because we've been working all day. But like, how often do we get to have the opportunity of being in Magic Kingdom in the middle of the night? And so we were burning the candle at both ends, whether it's that or being on Carousel of Progress, which I want to make sure that you tell that story as well before we jump off here. But it's such a fun time. And to know that we were able to do it essentially on the company's dime, getting down there and lodging and stuff like that, was just like, I couldn't have thought of a better way to have a Disney experience, especially the first time that you and I got to experience it together. Right.
So Chris, what happened when we got on Carousel of Progress that fateful?
Okay. So I remember it felt like, I don't know, 12:30, 1 a.m., something like that. And we decided to ride
probably much later. But
probably,
who knows?
Maybe. But we decided to ride Carousel of Progress because, hey, it's open. We've ridden Space Ranger Spin and Space Mountain several times each. Why not say that we have also done the Carousel of Progress? It's not the most exciting ride for some people in their 20s and a guy in his early 30s. But, hey, let's say that we've done it. So we get right on the ride.
The song is, you can just sing along to it. Even if you've never heard it before, you'll pick it up really quick.
It's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. And I was able to hear it many times that night because why?
Well, so the way it works, if you've never been on Carousel of Progress, it's really quite ingenious. You go into a theater and you see a stage with audio animatronics. These are robots that are controlled and synced up with audio. And it plays a little bit of a scene, and then this music starts, and the theater itself rotates around a round stage, and then by the time you get all the way around, you go out the same door you came in, kind of thing. So we'd watch a couple scenes, and the music starts, and we're all singing along, and the room doesn't rotate. And it's like, okay, maybe it took somebody just a little bit longer to get in or something. And so we watched the same scene we just seen once again. The music starts, we start singing along, and the room still doesn't move. And now we're starting to think, okay, what's going on? I mean, it's late. Hopefully they didn't just forget that there are people in here. Because the three of us weren't the only ones.
It was almost, I think that there were maybe 7 people on that ride total, and 3 of us were all together from one group.
Yeah, so it's us and one other family or something.
Yeah.
And I think once again, the music starts and we don't move and we start freaking out thinking, okay, what happens if we're still stuck on this, 8 o'clock the next day and can't make it to work? Not realizing this is how delirious we were, not realizing, oh, it's just a room. There's a door and we can likely just walk out. Should anything like really be broken. Not like last week we talked about Rock and Roller Coaster.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about the time that we went live, somebody had posted online that they were on Rock and Roller Coaster, like stuck with the lights on, and they have to come get rescued and walk the catwalks and all that. So it's nothing that cumbersome. You just get up and walk out a door. That's how easy Carousel Progress is, I'm sure. It did eventually start rotating again. But we were freaking out. Our delirious selves were freaking out a little bit there for a few minutes.
I kept picturing, thinking back on this, is that they kept Magic Kingdom open late. There was like one guy that his only job is to push the button to rotate the room, and he fell asleep, and it just kept playing the same scene over again because he's there. He never pushes the room, kind of like the grandpa in the Carousel of Progress, how he's asleep most of the scenes there. Just such a fun time. And again, it was we had to pay for it the next day because we stayed up so late, but we still had to work the next morning and be in the booth rocking and rolling by 7 something in the morning so that we could then open the booth at 8. And so we definitely had our work cut out for us about trying to figure out how to work the next couple of days, enjoy the parks, but then also pack it all up and then drive home safely. So we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to enjoy it as much as we could, and burning the candle at both ends is how we did it. And again, I would do it again in a heartbeat. I wonder how my 42-year-old body would handle it versus my 32-year-old body over almost a decade ago.
Yeah. Well, I remember how much fun it was that day at the Magic Kingdom. I don't really remember. I'm sure I was tired, but I don't remember how I felt the next day. This was not in the Magic Kingdom, but that same trip, it was funny. A coworker was trying on Mickey Mouse ears and just trying to figure out which ones she liked best. And, she's like, I don't think any of these are for me. We ended up walking out of whatever store it was, not realizing, she's still wearing the ears. And it wasn't till about an hour later that we realized, hey, you're still wearing those ears.
So you guys became criminals on that same evening.
She ended up returning them to just the hotel gift shop and saying, hey, sorry, I didn't mean to. I just walked out with these. And I think they're kind of like, okay. But what a fun trip to be able to mix work with play, getting to go visit the parks. So again, if you have the opportunity to take your family to a convention down there, it's great for them just to hang out poolside and then take a weekend on at the end of it or something, a couple days. It's a great way to, they can get some relaxing time. You can still get to hit the parks as well. And everybody gets something accomplished.
Man, I tell you what, we should actually, since we're kicking off the summer vacation season and doing this series in the month of May, we should come up with a story per episode of just talking about times where one of us or both of us have been down there with family or friends, or just some fun summer vacation experiences that Disney has allowed us to enjoy with our people that we love. And just like maybe one quick story a week and just enjoy that. But I've loved this walk down memory lane. It's insane to me that now looking back, it's been a decade that not only have we been buddies, but Disney fanatics and also Disney park goers in the decade plus now with all of this. But pretty insane. But man, good memories at Disney's expense and some of our company's expense as well.
Yeah. Well, and we'll just kind of make that our plussing for this week. Plussing is to attend a convention down there, because generally, if somebody's holding a convention there, Disney is helping them cross their I's and dot their T's, cross their T's and dot their I's on everything. Plus, you have great food all around you, great facilities as far as pools, hotel rooms, lots of things to do. I mean, we did an episode almost a year ago on our trip to Fantasia Gardens to play putt-putt. So, if you don't want to go spend the afternoon, the convention ends early at the parks, go play around a putt-putt or something like that. So there are a lot of things to do down there. Yet next week, we'll be talking about some tips for going with little ones, maybe some not so little ones as well. But just kind of going through a summer series of, hey, Disney World's opening back up. Disneyland's opening back up. We can start traveling again. It feels great to be able to do that once again. So I'm really excited about the rest of this series as well.
Me too. Yeah. It just as a quick side note, as we sign off, it was just really a memorable visual that I saw this week of the Disneyland opening back up and a cast member watching people walk through the gates again for the first time after 14 months or so since it had been closed. And just, a tear coming down their eye for like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that we're finally back to being able to enjoy Disneyland together. And so just, it's nice that we are now getting to a point where we can go out and explore the world again.
And what I love about that picture is the reason that the cast member has a tear is not because, I mean, they don't even have to love Disney, but it's about creating magic for other people. Mm-hmm. These people are expecting sometimes the greatest, especially the kids, the greatest vacation of their lives. And, if it's just the rides and the food and the attractions, fine, whatever. It's just a normal vacation, but it's the people who go out of their way to make it really special. These are people, could they go get another job? Of course. But what they love to do is create magic for others in that hospitality space. And they're getting to do what they love once again. So I know it means a lot to them. Be sure to find us online at themouseandmen.com. Follow us on social media. Download our top 10 things for grown-ups to do in Walt Disney World. Let us know, have you gotten to stay in the parks after hours? They're not doing it right now, but they used to do, what was it, 24 hours?
24 hours of Disney, or 24 hours of magic, something like that.
Yeah. Star Wars weekend was usually when that happened, and now Star Wars weekend is kind of just every weekend with Galaxy's Edge. But let us know some of your fun stories in the parks. So reach out to us on social media or just email us at podcast@themouseandmen. Chris, we need to make another trip, hopefully sooner rather than later, at least for some of us. But I just want to encourage you, don't grow up too fast.
And whether it's 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. in Magic Kingdom, or if your company's footing the bill, or if you're footing every dime yourself, you got to keep exploring.